He's quick and he's slick and he don't miss a trick. He's a man on a mission and he takes his pick. Oh, he's smooth, he don't bruise when the haters bite. On IFL TV does he talk too much shite. He's fast car ready, catch him if you can. You like that one?
Superb.
What I'm going to do now, I'm going to improvise a verse for you. Yeah? Just put your name in, Umar's going too far, Michelle's not impressed. She's getting paranoid over her chest. Lawless can be shaken, it's a triposted leg. There's lead in the pencil and it's time for bed. He's fast car ready, catch him if you can. How's that?
Excellent, Dom. Excellent stuff. Well, that was an interesting start to this interview. Come up to Sheffield to the Galopin, to the Ingle gym for the first time. It's good to see you, Jim. How are the boys getting on?
Yeah, everybody's training well. You know, we've got a good set of kids around us. You know, people have been in and out of this house. Kell, Brook, Billy Joe Saunders, Willie Hutchinson. So yeah, they've all been in and out. You know, it's like a cave. As you see, there's nothing in here. There's a kitchen, there's beds upstairs, there's no kind of entertainment downstairs. You eat, sleep, and you use the bathroom, and that's all you do. Guitar. Well, we have a bit of guitar and a bit of music every now and again.
Yeah, it's good to have boxing back in Sheffield, February 8th. All of the lights, Kell Brook is back, obviously Kid Gallagher as well, in an important fight for his career, trying to get another world title shot. So yeah, big things going on for Sheffield. Yeah,
you know, it's been a long time. I think it's over a year since Kell last boxed, and that's when he left the gym and went and trained with somebody else and had a bit of a lacklustre performance. But there were probably lots of things what went off right at the last minute. He was training well for that fight. And I think at the end of the day, he just had to draw on all his experiences and he pulled himself through. And then Zarafa went on and had a good win against Jeff Horn. And I believe they fought again and Jeff Horn beat him. So, you know, it's interesting how it works out. And now he's back here and probably in the last stage of his career.
What's his ideal weight, Kell?
I mean, look, he's made 147 for a long time. And you can get away with that. I used to say to him a long time ago, you'll get away with it while you're under the age of 30. And you can still make the weight now, but rehydrating up and refueling from that point, he's not going to get into the ring in the best shape. So I think, you know, 154 is going to be the weight for him to go at, I think.
So you don't rule out him fighting at 147?
He could make it. I mean, the way he's trained for this fight and the way his weight's been, he could make it quite easily, but you know, it's always going to take a little bit out of your last few pounds, and that's going to affect his performance. So, you know, he's got to be careful. I think he needs to stick at 154, to be honest.
Have you studied much of Luca?
I've seen him box. I've been over in Boston. I had Jason Quigley box over there one time, and DeLuca was on the undercard or on the card, and then I was over there again, and I saw him box. And so I've seen him. He's tough. He comes forward. It's his chance, and you know he will try and have a go. He'll come and try and take the fight to Kell. He can punch. He's slippery, he's a southpaw, so yeah.
Everyone's talking about the next fight for Kell. So from what you're saying, he can't take his after ball in?
No, not 100%. Because he's been out of the ring. This is the thing, he's had time out of the ring before early on in his career. Well, all through his career, he's had long spells out of inactivity and been out of the ring, injuries, various things. And, it's wasted time. But that was all before the age of 30. Now he's over 30. He's actually coming up for 34. Time adds on after 30, and so you can never expect him to take off. To start where he finished last time. He had a great fight against Rabchenko, and then 6 months later he didn't box too good against Zarafa, and we don't know how he's going to turn up. He's been back in the gym maybe 6 months, and from that he looks all right. But when he starts making the weight, there'll be a difference in his performance. He's been sparring well, he's been sparring young guys, he's been doing well, he's been keeping on top of them. But actual fight night, it could be different.
You've seen some of the best fighters in British boxing history at the Ingle gym, in terms of Naz, Junior Witter, Johnny Nelson. Where does Kell rank amongst them?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Naz. You've got to put Naz at the top purely for what he achieved. You have to put Johnny Nelson up there for where he started to where he finished. It was a massive transformation. So, you've got to put there was Naz, and then there's everybody else for various reasons, and you can't.
That would be at any gym, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't put them in order.
But in terms of the talent that Kell had.
Talent, oh yeah. Well, I would say, and I think a lot of people would agree that the homegrown, us bringing them through. You put Naz there, and then you'd put Kell, because he did have the talent. Johnny Nelson had to work it. Junior Witcher had to work it. Kid Gallagher had to work it. So you'd have to put Kell, and for me, he never realised his potential. He never got to where he needed to be that way, because I think he just relied. He knew he got that ability, and although he did train hard for camps, I think he let himself down in between fights and the amount of time he had out, and he was never really building on anything. He was always bringing himself back round to get fit for a fight. He never had much momentum, and that's important in boxing. If you look at the top fighters, Golovkin, Canelo, the guys who were doing really well, and even Mayweather when he was coming through, consistency, Manny Pacquiao fighting on a regular basis, Miguel Cotto, regular basis, the performances were very consistent. And then you get fighters who they have a good performance, and then not so much a good performance, and that's time out of the gym and time out of it, letting yourself blow up in weight. It's about consistency boxing and going in and performing very good every time or good. And that's how you're going to measure a fighter.
When we look at that win against Sean Porter, we've just seen Sean an excellent fight against one of the best fighters in the world, in Errol Spence. Many people actually thought Sean nicked that. That win looks so much better on paper from Kell to travel to America as well in his first major fight and win that world title. So going ahead from there, you'd have thought you'd have kicked on, gone down as one of the best ever British boxing history potentially. Do you and him look back at that period after the Sean Porter fight and regret anything, Dom?
Well, people will say, where were you on the day that President Kennedy got shot, and certain, things in history where people can remember certain days. And I can remember exactly where I was when I found out after Kell Brook won the world title 3 weeks later. I was sat in a Starbucks coffee shop and somebody phoned me and said, Kell Brook's been stabbed, I think he might be dead. And I nearly spat my coffee all over the table. And obviously he wasn't dead, but he had been stabbed. He had a main artery severed in his leg. And just at the point where he was ready to conquer the world, it all went wrong. And that's, been a familiar pattern. It's almost like, fate itself, coming around. And there's nothing you can do, because when you're training somebody, you can only be responsible for them in a training camp, and fighters do their own thing. And when they're in that frame of training, the focus, they know what they're doing, everything's mapped out for them, and then they win a fight, they have all the adulation, they get the money, all the fame, and it rolls on for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then it dies down, and then they're left with their own devices. They're left for nobody telling them what to do and guiding them, and that's what they thrive on. The best fighters I've ever had, Kell Brook, Johnny Nelson, Junior Witter, and Liam Williams is another one. When you're telling them what to do and guiding them in the right direction, it's easy for them. And then they're left with their own devices, and they just spin out of control. They just seem to make their own decisions. So I've never sat down with Kell and said, where did it all go wrong? Because we've had the talks before that about when you become champion and what's expected of you, that you've got to stay on top of the pile. Once you're there, it's hard getting there, but it's even hard staying on top. And I just think for Kell, that once he got there, after all the work he'd put in, 10 years from 18 as a professional fighter when he first turned pro to 28, it took him 10 years. But before that, from the age of 10 to 18, amateur boxing. So it was a long time coming. And I think he just needed to build on that, and he never did. For me, he never got the momentum that he should have got. It never really ran as smooth as it should. Maybe that's the character of him, or maybe that was boxing at the time. He had some good fights. He made his money, and it wasn't the career he should have had. It should have been a lot better, I think. But that's, you could blame it on him. You could blame it on promoters. You could blame it on a lot of things. But sometimes that's just the way it falls, and you have to make the best out of a bad, deck of cards type of thing. A lot of things what Kell Brook did, he got through with his ability. The only insurance in boxing is yourself, and he was with Frank Warren at first, and that came to an end. They got in with Eddie, and various things happened. So you can never sit down and have regrets. You can just be thankful that he's had a good career. He's boxed some big names. He's made his money. And he's coming close now to the point where he's never been seriously in the ring. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't. He's been out of the ring. He's never been knocked out. All right, he's had his eye sockets done, but he finished on his feet on both occasions. And going back to the Sean Porter fight, I can remember in the build-up to the Errol Spence fight, and everybody was raving about Errol Spence and how good he was. And yeah, you know, as a boxing trainer, I look at my fighters' opponents. I don't really like to watch a lot of other boxing. I watch what I've got to watch. And I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, "Do you think Errol Spence is, you know, all that he's cracked up to be?" I went, "Not really, but he's very good at what he does. But it's the best that America have got at the minute. So they've got to build him up. They've got to hype him up." And you know, I saw it for what it was. I thought it was very beatable. And the Kell Brook who beat Sean Porter would have easily dealt with Errol Spence, in my opinion. I think he might have stopped him even. But boxing's about timing, and Kell had been through a hard fight with Golovkin, had his face cracked and all these other things, and he was going into that fight with damage, and he still put up a good fight, and he was winning winning after about 6 or 7 rounds, and then everything caught up with him. But that's the timing of boxing. You know, everything catches up you at some point, and he caught up with Kell Brook that night, and I think he's lived to regret that, because they had conversations with him before that fight telling him he needed to start his camps earlier, his preparation a lot sooner because of the time he'd been out, the damage he had after the Golovkin fight. And really, he started his camp a lot later than he should have done. And he was playing catch up. He was plagued with various illnesses like tonsillitis, chest infections. But you never hear this because he'll not complain. The fighters get into ring and they fight. They don't make excuses. Kell Brook doesn't make excuses. And you know, that day or that night, all the stars aligned for Errol Spence, and he won the fight. But then you go to the Sean Porter fight with Errol Spence, and it was a nip and tuck situation. And Sean Porter, for me, yeah, I think he's got better in one way, but he still had a bit of wear and tear in hard fights. So you think how close that fight was there? You would have thought if Errol Spence was the fighter that everybody was making out he was going to be, you know, a fantastic fighter, he would have easily dealt with Sean Porter, and he didn't easily deal with Sean Porter. So you know, you have to weigh that up, and I think Kell will be kicking himself, but you can come round once in boxing. You know, you go round once in boxing. You should only go round once in boxing, and you know, once you're retired and finished, that's leave it at that. Don't come back. And like Mayweather's done well. Manny Pacquiao's still going at 40. You know, he's been flat on his face a few times, but come through it. But I think with Kell Brook, February the 8th, I'll determine how much he's got left for the next 12 months, and we'll just have to take it from there. So we're not looking past that date.
In that time period I talked about, was there a problem where Amir Khan was chasing Mayweather and Pacquiao, and Kell Brook, no secret, wanted Amir Khan, and Khan ended up fighting Canelo, and Brook ended up fighting Golovkin, and both of them actually did all right in that fight. I mean, Khan was outboxing Canelo, and Brook was having success against Golovkin. But at the end of the day, as many people expected, it caught up with them, the size, the power of Canelo and GGG. Do you think both of them shouldn't have taken that fight, or within boxing can you not say that at that time?
No, I don't, because you know, I was part of that decision-making process with the Golovkin fight, and I watched Golovkin against Martin Murray and against Matthew Macklin, and you know, I would have said it's always going to be in my best interest as well to keep Kell Brook winning for as long as possible. And you know, the money was good for that fight, but not, you know, where you're going to finish your career. And I wouldn't train a fighter to just go in and do all right. For me, they've got to go in and win. I've got to believe they can win, and they've got to believe they can win, because they're not going to be training hard enough. And Kell Brook did train hard for that fight. He had some great sparring, he had great preparation, and he wanted the fight, what was going to define him, and he wasn't getting the fights. The guys in his division were champions. He didn't want to box him. You know, he boxed Bezier, he boxed, you know, Kevin Bezier, and the other Canadian who we beat, Jojo Dan. And you know, for Kelly, he'd gone up 3 levels to fight Sean Porter. You know, big fight, and then he came down 2 or 3 levels to make his defences. And for Kell, when you've been in boxing that long, you need something to put the fear of God into you, to motivate you for the big fights, and that's what the Golovkin fight was. And if, you know, I've said this many times, if Golovkin was the type of guy like a Julian Jackson or one of these guys who could take you out, Gerald McClellan, with one punch, then Kell Brook would never have been in that fight. But for me, Golovkin could punch and he was tough, but he wasn't a devastating puncher, and I thought Kell Brook could deal with that outboxing. And at times he got drawn into the fight. The game plan wasn't to get drawn into the fight too early on. It was just to get his movement, step around Golovkin and outbox him, which he was doing when he settled down. But I just think the initial left up what caught him early in the first round and wobbled him just took him into fight mode, and it took him a few rounds to calm down and then get to the boxing. And there were times when he did make Golovkin look bad and make him miss bad. And it wasn't a case of just go in there and give as much as you can and hope for the best. We had a plan to get through that fight. And I still believe now, and people say, what's he talking about, that Golovkin was gassing after 4 rounds. He was breathing everything in the corner he could see. And Kell was just coming into it, but the injury he sustained, I had to weigh it up and I pulled him out of the fight because, and it was proved later on, I think the doctor said, if he'd have been in here any longer, it could have been a career finishing injury. Look at Anthony Ogogo, he got the same injury and he pulled himself out of the fight. Do you know what I mean? He didn't have anybody else. I'm not saying they were wrong, but he knew himself and he pulled himself out and he can't box again. Kell Brook then still went on to have Errol Spence and Rabchenko, and he's fighting again. So it's not, and he's had both of his done. And the strange thing is, somebody phoned me up and asked, who was the surgeon who did Kell Brook's eyes, and I told them, and they didn't use them people. They went somewhere else to go those people, and he had it done somewhere else. The guy who did Kell's is the best surgeon in the country for that injury, based in Sheffield, and ironically his name is Muhammad Ali. So, a very good surgeon, and sorted Kell out. And he's got 2, obviously, cracked sockets. He's had them done and he's still fighting. So he's had a lot of injuries and a lot of setbacks, but it hasn't stopped him from coming forward. Khan, for me, I think that was always the plan with Canelo, that Canelo knew that Khan was going to come out fast and, out boxing. But I think anybody in boxing who really knows boxing knew that Canelo was he's never going to try and match Khan for speed or whatever, and just let him gas himself out and then pick your time and just drop one on him, and that's his weak point. It's always going to be the case with Khan. That's what you'd always do. You'd never try and outbox him. You would, let him blow himself out, get your timing right, and then set him up for the knockout shot.
Is that how Kell would go about it as well?
Well, there's different ways to beat Khan, and Khan was good for a very, very short period of time. And he's been in with big names, and anybody who's big names flattened him. So whether that fight is viable anymore, I don't know. It's not something I lose sleep over. It would have been good back in its day to set all the score, but for me now it's really irrelevant. It's just whoever wants to fight Kell, and Kell wants to fight.
Okay, moving on to Liam Williams. He looks like he wants every person from 54 to 68. He's gunning after everyone. A fight that could happen is Jaime Munguia. He's just coming off a win against Spike.
Jaime
Munguia.
That's how you pronounce it.
Jaime Munguia. Yeah. That'd be some fight though, wouldn't it?
It will be some fight. I mean, Liam Williams, again, he came to the gym in 2016 to spar Kell Brook for the Golovkin fight. And I used to watch Liam Williams from way back, and he also used to remind me of Miguel Cotto. I think he said to me, based his style, I used to love watching Miguel Cotto, very calculated, very precise, very good fighter. And he came to spar Kell Brook, and he was only young at the time. He was only about 23, and I think it was before he boxed Smith for the title. And I can remember him coming and thinking, he'd give Kell Brook a good spar. Obviously, Kell was a bit too much for him then. And then, a few years, and he came back a few times to spar various kids, and then eventually found his way here. And I took Jason Quigley down to Wales to spar him, and I could understand why he came, because where he was very cut off, and he was having to travel all over the place for sparring. And when you're a boxer, you want to be settled, and you just want to be really walking over to the gym, doing yourself and walking back to bed. And where we are here, as you can see, the gym is 2 minutes walk from the Gala pad from where I live. Everybody is no more than 5 to 10 minutes away from this gym. And it's easy to get there in the morning, get there at night. There's always plenty of sparring. And I think with Liam Williams, he realised that he had to make that move. I mean, Gary Lockett is a good trainer, but you just cut off in Wales. You're away from it all. And luckily in Sheffield we've got, there's plenty of gyms, there's plenty of sparring. We're very central to Manchester, Leeds, Nottingham, so you're in the middle of it all. And I think it was just a case with Liam Williams of, giving him a bit of focus and guiding him in the right direction, just not letting him go out and do what he wanted to do. And his last performance against Atlantic Fox, who was rated #1 by the WBO and only being beat by Andrade for on points. The way that Liam Williams dealt with a guy at 6'5", he just took him to pieces and dismantled him bit by bit, and took his time and got him and made it easy. And I sit down with Liam, and when he first came, and realised that he was just doing too much of everything. Too many round sparring, too many long runs, killing training, when he didn't really need to. And he pulled himself back to maybe 70%. And over he's been with me a year and a half, but the last 12 months, from beating Heffron to beat Atlantic Fox with about a 12-month period, the hardest fights have been hardest fight on paper have been the easiest fights in the ring, because he's had a plan what he's got to do. He's got no injuries, he's had documented hand problems, but he's never had any hand problems in the gym. He's injury free, and he's coming out of his fights relatively unscathed. He's not got a mark on him, and I said to him, it's a good job, because you don't want any more. You can see you've been punched around the face a little bit. You don't want any more damage. And he listens, and he's focused, and he knows what he's doing. And it's been a pleasure really to see him change and grow and improve over the year and a half he's been with me. Because he just needed direction, and he's in the gym, and he was in the gym for the last fight for a very long time for that last fight, and the money wasn't great. It was a risky fight, and he said, "What do you reckon?" I went, "You know what? The length of time you've been in, take that fight, because you're on it. It's not like you've got to lose weight or you're not fit." Because 6 weeks out, you're nearly ready to fight. And he did everything right, and the plan that we had, the traps we had in place and everything else, he just executed them perfectly. He can do that. Kell Brook can do it. Kell Brook's very good when you give him a game plan how to deal with. That's what he did with Sean Porter, and Liam Williams is another one who will listen and make that plan work.
Well, I think he is one of the most improved fighters in recent times in British boxing, maybe even world boxing. I think it's a credit to the pair of you and everyone involved with Liam Williams. Kid Galad, we know he's got that eliminator, another shot at Josh Warrington potentially. Do you think Josh will take the Shakur Stevenson fight? I don't think Kid said he thinks Josh won't take that fight.
Well, Stevenson's in America. Why would you put yourself at risk and come over to England with the risk of maybe being robbed or being on the wrong end of a bad decision? Why would you take that chance? As a champion, although Josh Warrington is a champion, we heard last year Josh Warrington talking about all the unification fights he wanted to challenge himself. Well, Josh Warrington's I don't think he's ever boxed out of England. He might have boxed out of England, but he's never been to America. Galad's been to America once or twice, boxed there. Bridger Saunders did it against Lemieux. Kell Brook did it against Sean Porter. To be able to travel, if you're a champion, you should be able to do it. And if he really wants those fights, and the only sticking point is whether they have it in UK or USA, then fair enough, you go to USA and take it. That remains to be seen whether that fight will happen. I don't think I think he's quite happy staying at home and just knocking over stiffs like he did in his last fight and getting his money. But at some point, he's either going to have to take the plunge. He's between a rock and a hard place, and if Galahad comes through this next fight and wins, he's got to either make his mind up to go over to America and box Stevenson or stay with Barry. And I think at that point, push comes to shove, he'll have to, if the fight can be made, he'll have to go to the USA to do it, because he won't want to fight Barry again.
Do you think there's a chance, if the Stevenson fight doesn't happen on unification and Kid's the only option, that he could vacate the title?
You know what, I know people say this, but I don't think, Josh Warrington, we should, whatever you think about him as a fighter, he's got a fighter's mentality and he believes in himself, so he's going to stand another fight, because
there's no chance that rematch could happen.
Yeah, they've got every chance. I don't think it's in his nature to turn down the fight. People say, even Barry might do that, but unless there's another option of a bigger fight, I don't think, if the option is fight Barry or give it up, I think he's going to fight Barry. If the option is fight Stevenson or fight Barry, he'll fight Stevenson. But
could you understand that though, unification bout?
Yeah, listen, you've got to go for the big fights. You've got to test yourself against the best. You can't fault him for that. You've got to take what's in front of you. That's what I do, and that's what I advise my fighters to do. And I wouldn't want to fight Barry again. But if that's what happens, then he's going to have to fight him. But he's got to try and push for the fight. He's got to push for the unification or something else, or maybe even move up to 9-4 and challenge somebody else, maybe. But I don't think he wants to revisit the fight with Barry, because it was all wrong for Barry. It was difficult for him, and I think I don't think he could improve on that performance. But I think Barry probably could.
Okay, Dom, how talented is the trained Willie Hutchinson?
How talented is Willie Hutchinson? He's very talented. He's only 20 years old, and you'll often hear Kell Brook say, "No, he was better than me at 20," and various people in the gym. He's a talented kid, well amateur, junior amateur champion, and he can punch. He's strong. He's game, very unassuming. And you know, he had a few fights before he came to me. He's now 10-0, and it's just a case of the same again. He's seen in the time he's been here, because he came to the gym before Liam Williams, and he's seen, obviously Liam Williams is older than him and a lot further on, but he's seen, you know, Liam Williams come and develop in that time frame. You know, Willie's got a lot more time than Liam Williamson, but in the time that Liam Williamson's had, he's improved vastly. And I think, you know, even Willie Hutchinson can see himself improving all the time. And he wants to fight everybody, he wants to do all these things, but boxing's all about timing, like I said. And there's things in place for Willie Hutchinson, what he's got to work on, develop, and settle. He's down here now, he got married, he's down here with his missus, and he's living away from home in Scotland. He's only a young kid, and she's only young as well, so there's a lot of adjustments to be made. And you've got to take them into, you know, you've got to calculate them into the mix, you know, being away from home. So, you know, I think by the time he's had another 5 or 6 or 7 fights, he'll be ready for a British title fight. By the time he's had 20 odd, I think European, and then just depending, you know, where he is then, looking at world titles, who's on the scene. But he knows how to fight, you know, he knows how to train hard, he's got the technique. It's now just the experience of being in and handling kids with experience.
Managed by some good people as well.
Yeah, you know, it's good that he's managed by Shelley Finkel. He's been in the game a long time. Tyson, Deontay Wilder, and them type of people don't manage you unless they think you've got some potential, because they won't waste the time. So he's got a good manager there, and that's half the battle. He's got a good working relationship with Frank Warren, so he's getting the fights. He's fighting on a regular basis, and he's learning every time. And his performances have been very consistent. So it's exciting times ahead. I've said often that he's going to be my last 10-year project, because he's 20 now. If he does everything right, by the age 30, 31, he'll have finished and made his money. And he's worth spending time and investing time, because he does everything that he's told. And you can't see any weaknesses in him. You can't see any chinks in his armour. You know, he's 20-year-old and he's knocking out men at 27 and 28. There's no fear in him. And that sometimes can be a problem, because that's when you can get caught out. But he listens, you know, he does as he's told, he turns up on time. You can go for walks, have a chat with him. He's a pleasure to be around. But you know, you can just switch like that and you're done.
Even Garbo's moved down to 175 pounds. Just talk me through that decision, Dom.
Yeah, you know, when he came, he's only 5'11". He's very heavily built, and it's a disadvantage really for being a cruiserweight. They're up, you know, back in the day, cruiserweights were, you know, a little bit shorter. But look at today's Usyk. You know, they're all over 6 foot. That last fight he boxed, you know, it was a shocking fight. I just think the referee let Okolie get away with murder. If that had been a good referee who would made him fight, I honestly believe Ngarb would have knocked him out. And it's only a matter of time before Okolie gets exposed, because you're not going to get away with it. You're not going to go to America and be able to grab your way through a fight. I don't care what anybody says. So he needs to change his style and get on it, because he's got all the attributes. You know, stand up, long reach, everything else. But he hits and, you know, 2 shots and hold, hits and 2 shots and hold. And you can't get through fights like that. You might get away with it in England when you're the promoter's fighter. But when you go into Europe or on the world scene and try and get away with that, you'll not get away with it. So time will tell.
Who else I missed out from? You've got John Joyce, Lee Reeves. I missed someone out, right?
No, I've got Kell, Barry, Liam Williams. Billy's off back with Ben Davison training. Yeah. He's got his fights coming up. So we've got 8 in the gym. We've got Barry, got Kell, Willie Hutchinson, Liam Williamson, Even Gaboo, Lee Reeves, John Joyce, and there's another one somewhere. We've got 8 in total.
Oh, so you mentioned Hutchinson? We've done it.
We've mentioned Willie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got enough kids to be going on with. Robbie Davis.
Robbie Davis Jr.
Yeah,
he's just, that's the one I was. Yeah.
The new one. He's just sneaked in. There was a little space left there. Nicola Adams retired, and there was a space for him to come. I think 8's about my limit. I usually have, 4 good kids, and then you've got a couple coming through like the good kids, Galahad, Kell, Brook, Liam Williams. You put Eve in that measure because he's been European champion, and then you've got Willie, and you've got Willie, Robbie Davis Jr. I mean, Robbie's very experienced. Willie's like experienced amateur-wise. Lee Reeves and John Joyce are just coming through, young kids. They've not been in the gym long, whereas Willie's been in quite a while. Robbie's been at another place over in Liverpool, well experienced. And I think Robbie's another one who just needs a bit of guidance. There's no 2 ways he likes to have a fight, and he can have a punch-up, but there's knowing when to have a punch-up in a fight. Like Liam Williams, every time I used to watch Liam Williams, he wanted to have a punch-up when maybe a punch-up wasn't the best way to go. And if you look at his fighting now, they're a bit more calculated. They've got more of a game plan, and he knows what he's doing. And I think that's the same with Robbie. Just got to find what his best bits are, and we'll know that when he starts sparring and get plans together. And I think his last fight could have gone either way with Ritson. It was in his hometown. I'm not saying it was a hometown decision, but in the mix, in the right place.
I think that rematch with Lewis Ritson could happen.
I do. I think maybe give Robbie another 1 or 2 fights, see where Ritson goes from there, and do that one again, because it was a terrific scrap. And that's what boxing's about. 2 kids having a good tear up, whether it's technical, tactical, or just a punch up. I think Robbie's probably just made the move at the right time, bit of a change up, get away from home, get out of his comfort zone. He's seen what Liam Williams has done in the last 12 months, and I think he's thinking maybe I can do the same thing. And they are very similar characters as well.
All right, Dominic Ingle, thank you very much for your time here in Sheffield, going through all your fighters. Best of luck with Kell and Kid on February 8th, and I'm sure we'll catch you before fight night. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dom.
Gold Star Promotions is proud to present Floyd Money Mayweather. The man himself is coming to the UK for his UK tour, February and March 2020. For all info and tickets, Gold Star Promotions.co.uk.